Hello everyone, welcome back to Crafts by the Bow. Today I've got a really pretty and simple little card to make for you, and it's using one of the new sets from the mini catalogue. This is the mini catalogue. It says on the front July to December, but Stampin Up actually postponed it for a month, so the catalogue has only just gone live in August. And that was due to COVID, and they were worried that they couldn't get the shipments in time and all the printing and everything, so they decided to put it back a month. So if your catalogue says July to December, don't worry, you haven't missed a month. It is from August. And the set I'm using comes from this Harvest Meadow suite, and it reminds me of the Quiet Meadow ones that we've got in the annual catalogue, and they work really well together. And what I'm using is the stamp set and a couple of the dies. I will show you, in fact I think I'm only using one of the dies, and then this gorgeous designer series paper, and I don't think I'm using anything else from there. Nope, but let me show you how we make it. So I'm going to use this stamp here, the little thank you, and this like blotchy piece. And it's the blotchy piece that I've used for my background on here. Now, in the dies that come with it, there are lots of the floral aspects, some that will cut out images, but some that are standalone dies. See, this one will cut out this daisy image, and I'm going to use just this one piece, just this little piece. So let's put those out of the way and show you how to start. So I'm making my base as crumb cake card. That's a bit of a mouthful, and I've got exactly half a sheet, so that's 5.5 by 8.5, and I've scored it at 4 1/4. Okay, and then I'm going to fold it in half, and what you need to do is just to take a little piece off here, and I cut off 1 1/4. So you end up with this shape. So can you see it's exactly the same, all the dimensions are the same, except I've cut off 1 1/4 here. And that little 1 1/4 piece is great for back-ins, for maybe doing die cuts or putting behind a sentiment or something. So don't throw it away or anything. You will need it. Not today, but another day. Okay. And then what I've also done is cut a little tiny piece of the designer series paper, and I've used this one, which is the soft succulent, and it looks sort of blotchy and it's got script on. There's some really pretty ones in here. So some of them are more autumnal, and some, I don't think it would matter what kind of a card you put it on. So some are just patterns. I love this, particularly for maybe a more masculine feel. So really, really pretty paper. I love this one too, in the Misty Moonlight. I like anything in the Misty Moonlight, but I do like that one. I'm not sure what I'm going to create with it yet. So, and that one is called Harvest Meadow Designer Series Paper, and the colours are Bumblebee, Cajun Craze, Crumb Cake, Misty Moonlight and Soft Succulent. And so I've got myself just a small piece, and it's only 1 1/4 inches by the 5 1/4 of the 5 1/4, yeah. So it just leaves a little gap round. But I'm going to pop that onto just a piece of basic white that goes inside. And if you check on my blog, all the measurements will be there. Don't worry about writing them down now or trying to cut pieces as I'm going along. They're all on my blog. Okay. And then I've got a little piece of basic white for the front that's going to go on here. And what did I cut that on? I'll just have to look. 2 3/4 by 5 1/4. And that's the piece I'm going to start with. So I need just a piece of scratch paper underneath. Turn it that way. Might even turn it that way. I've got 2 pieces, but I'm going to turn it that way because that's the way I like to stamp. And I've got that splodgy stamp. I'm not quite sure what the pattern is meant to be, but it is just a splatter. And I've got my crumb cake ink, and I want to make that background so that it looks a little bit sort of vintagey or a little bit more shabby. And I know that if I ink it up and stamp straight away, it's much too dark. So I've worked out that I like stamped off twice, and then this one across the bottom because it's still quite dark. And then I just turn it round and carry on stamping. So I stamp off twice, not press too dark. Just little bits. There's no real pattern to it. And if you think, oh, that might be a little bit dark, you can always turn over, do a bit more on the back. So it's a bit more experimenting, really. You don't need too much. I just know that this is where the basic image is going to go, so I don't tend to do too much there. Okay, so we've finished with that one. And now we need the floral piece. And I quite like this on a little bit of an angle. So I'm just going to stamp it up with the same crumb cake, but this time I'm going to stamp full strength. And I don't want it to be right at the bottom. I want to have a little piece at the bottom where I can put my sentiment. So I'm going to go round about in the centre. Okay. Now, while I'm here, I'm going to get that inside layer as well that I've got. And while there's still some ink on here, I'm just going to stamp it again. Okay, it'll be quite light, and that's fine because we need to be able to use this as a sentiment piece and to write over it. And so that's actually just the right strength. Now the only other little piece of stamping we need to do is the little sentiment. Okay, so I've actually already stamped mine and cut them out, but just stamp on a little tiny piece of scrap. And then I've cut it out with that little die that I showed you. Okay, so let's do our colouring. I've only got a couple of my blends, and I've got the light ones. I've got the soft succulent and the So Saffron. And I chose the soft succulent just because the designer series paper is soft succulent, so I knew it would sort of all tie in and match. And I'm going to use the bullet end. And I'm only going to quickly, I'm not spending a lot of time here. I'm just going to quickly do the little green parts of these flowers. Pop the little leaves. If you wanted to use both blends so that you've got more shading and variation in colour, you could do that too. But I just wanted just the one colour. And really nothing that was going to, take me a lot of time. I didn't want it to look really polished and every little tiny piece coloured in. That wasn't what I was aiming for today. Okay. Do these little leaves. And I'm using the bullet end just because it's got lots of tiny pieces. And I was worried that if I would use the brush end, I might go over too many lines. I'm not the best colourer in the world. So, okay. But that's as much colouring as I need. And then I've got my So Saffron, and I will use the brush end for this piece. And I'm just going to do the centres of these two flowers here. It doesn't matter that it's got ink underneath. I think that actually sort of adds to it. I think it makes it look like a little bit more dimension to it. Okay, so that's all the colouring. That's all the stamping, and that's all the colouring. So let's see. I'm going to attach this one to the inside. I can get rid of my scratch paper. I don't need that anymore. And I'm going to put a little piece of designer series paper on the very right hand side. You can use whichever adhesive you like. I just have this on my desk at the moment, so that's what I'm using. And we're going to put it right at the edge. We're not going to leave a border on the white, just going to put it right up to the edge here. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to attach this to the inside. Okay, And this will have a little border round. There we go. You can see, you'll just see a little piece of it here. Now I think I've cut my paper just a fraction too small. You can see I can just see a little bit of that white. So I'm going to get my little blend pen and that piece of scrap paper that we had. I'm just going to try and butt that up here and just see if I can just do, without it being too noticeable. I'm just going over a couple of the little bits. There we go. Just do a little bit more there. I just don't want it to look quite so white. There we go. Pop that lid back on. Okay, so now for the front, we're going to put the little daisy piece on here, but I wanted the edges just to look a little bit more vintagey. So I don't know if you can see, I just went round with the crumb cake and one of the little sponge daubers. Now, if you've still got the sponges, you could use those, or you could probably even use the blending brush. I haven't tried it for anything right on the edge, but I'm sure it would work. Okay, so I've got my little sponge. I'm just going to dab in here and I'm just going to very gently do the edges. I'm not going very far over onto the front of the card. I just want it to not show as a cut white edge. Okay. And it only takes a few seconds. When we had the linen pads, it was easy just to roll the card round on top of the pad. I'll show you with the little sentiment in a moment. So let's do another little sentiment. So like the little sentiments, you could just dip like this all the way around. But because we've now got foam pads, I get a bit worried that I might go right through the foam pad and cut it. So I just tend to do it like this. There we go. Oh, and a bit more down there. I missed a little space. There we are. Okay. And then next, I'm going to tie a little piece of twine round. Let's pop that one away. And what I'm using is the Baker's Twine Essentials pack. We used to be able to buy these separately and just have the linen thread or the white sometimes. And there was a time when you could get just the black. And some of the colours come out for special occasions and in different catalogues. But I quite like this pack because it gives you lots of variety. And I'm using this one, which is the crumb cakey colour. And I've cut a piece, it's probably about 12-13 inches long. Let me just check. Yeah, that's just about 12. And for me, that's the right kind of length to tie a bow with. You might find that you don't need as much or you need a little bit more. And I'm just going to pop it around the bottom of the card and I'm going to tie a quick little bow. And I tend to tie mine upside down because otherwise the tails are on the wrong side. So don't worry that I'm tying it upside down. When I pull the little tails down, it makes my bow just the right way. Okay. That one's a little bit big. There we go. And I really want my bow to be at the right hand side, so I'm just going to bend my paper a little bit, bend my card and just move it along. If you try and pull it and your card's flat, sometimes you end up with a little tear in the sides here. And that's just how I want it. And so now I've got my little sentiment and I'm going to pop dimensionals on the back. This would be a really nice, easy card to batch make and then to wrap up as a little gift. It's quite a quick card to make. There's not an awful lot of stamping, there's not an awful lot of colouring. I'm just attaching that. I've popped it over the top of the twine so that the twine doesn't come undone. I'm just making my bow a little bit smaller. I'm going to cut off this long piece. There we go. And then I'm just going to attach that here at the front. You could put it on dimensionals if you wanted it to have a little bit more depth. I don't know if I might be mailing this, so if I think I might be mailing them, I tend not to do too many layers of dimensions, and I've already got one here. If I put 2 on and I'm sending it to the UK, I know then it won't fit through the little slot at the post office, and so I have to pay extra. So there we go. Now you could add some little bling if you wanted to put some rhinestones on or some pearls. That would be really pretty too. But for mine for today, I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave it like that. So there we are. That's my little Nature's Harvest card from the new mini catalogue. Thanks for joining me, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the card and I hope you'll give it a go. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.